Welcome, and good morning to everyone. Thank you for being here. This talk is about Verifactu, but it comes with a story. So let's see how I'm going to make this story entertaining for you. And let's start. I'm Jorge, Elena, Poblet. I'm part of the board of the Spanish Odoo Association. And well, I have different roles. We have to do certain things to take care of the members' needs, to go through communications with them, and try to help them out and drive this community, this Spanish community that is a very, very strong community. So as I mentioned before, this talk is about Verifactu, and I'm going to say what Verifactu means. There is a story behind, but this story is about how the Spanish community drives the open source philosophy within that region. Okay, so two main points, right? We're going to talk about the power of the Odoo community in Spain. Let me see, all right, here I am. So to start with, I'm going to tell a little bit about the Spanish community history, all right? Since Odoo V5, I mean, Open ERP, or Tiny ERP at the moment, the Spanish community already was working on the localization. So back in the day, we realized in that region that the localization was really, really needed. So that drove certain partners to get together and start collaborating and contributing to get that localization going. And the first code sprint was in 2008. So as you can see, the community was starting to get together, starting to get organized, and driving this localization and putting the localization together to solve the client's needs. In 2017, the Odoo Spanish Association was founded, and it was the first localization to be integrated into the OCA. So this is kind of like the recap of the story of the Spanish Association. There's a lot more, but let's move forward with this. Some of the accomplishments that the Odoo Spanish Association has been doing annually are the annual code sprint. This is very popular. I would say it's the biggest event aside the Odoo experience. We have a very large community that gets together in these code sprints that we launch every year. It's a 5 days event. It's very interesting. And one of the main accomplishments also are to maintain the Spanish localization and to ensure that we are compliant, with the government rules and taxes. Some other accomplishments from the associations are different projects that are besides of the localization, but we also drive the community by, for example, the voice over IP development that was founded by the association. Social media development, social media marketing was also developed by members of the association, as well as automation and gateways for WhatsApp and Telegram. Of course, we are also working together to have a stock logistics barcode and barcode application. So these are some of the accomplishments, besides many other things that the association is driving. At the end of the day, the main role for this association is to drive this collaboration between the partners of the members that are part of the community. At the end of the day, our job is to better organize everybody and these are some of the accomplishments that we have done. And well, the way it works today is we have some coordination, some working groups. Hello. Oh, hey. Some technical issues. Something happened here. Oh. Run out of battery, I think. Yeah, out of battery. I'm going to go fast anyway, so. You can hear me, right? Okay, so let's continue. How we work today, I don't want to be redundant about the concept, but basically we kind kind of like get the community organized, and we drive the community through fundings, through working groups, through governance, and there is a structure between companies, freelancers, and functional experts. Okay, and then because of the strength of this community, we were able to do something very, very interesting. That is the second subject of this presentation today. That is Verifactu, right? So about this story, I'm gonna talk a little bit more about this concept of contribution. But now let's just go to Verifactu. So what is Verifactu? Verifactu is just another electronic invoicing, right? Now, we all know, and it's happening in many countries, that there is electronic invoice compliance from the government that is, requiring this electronic invoicing to companies. And Verifactu is just the name for the Spanish version of it. So, what happened was that this government law came to place, and we need to solve this as integrators of Odoo in the Spanish community. We need to solve it for our customers, right? So we started to raise some questions. How are we going to do this? And the role of the association on getting together and getting everybody organized to solve this necessity, right? Okay, so the Spanish government regulation is about invoice traceability and anti-fraud. So there is accountability concept in this. So if you're not compliant as a company with electronic invoicing, so you are accountable of this invoice regulation, right? It requires real-time communication with the government. So every time that you invoice a client, then you need to communicate to the government that you are doing so, right? And it applies to every software vendor, so it applies to Odoo as well. Okay, so if you are in Spain and you implement invoicing features to your clients with Odoo, well, you need to be compliant. And this is kind of like what is needed for Verifactu as it's going to start in 2026. Okay, so this is the Spanish government regulation, and this is what Verifactu is about. Now, to give more context, of course, Odoo, as a company, as a software company, they need to solve this situation in a way. And we as a community, we also need to do it. And we started to raise some questions. What are we going to do? Do we want to wait to see what Odoo has to say about it? Or we as a community, can we solve this issue together, right? Because it's not an issue. It's something that we got to work on to solve this compliance situation. So we didn't have much information from Odoo. And as a community, since we have our own customers, we can't rely on the decisions that Odoo might take in order for us to work with our clients and be compliant with our clients. So that's kind of like the background of the story that was happening. And while it was happening, we didn't know much about what Odoo was going to do. Finally, we made the decision to do the development, right? And Odoo did the same. Odoo created the development. When we started to get more information about what Odoo was doing, we found several problems. And this is a list of problems that we found out when we got that information from Odoo. Initially, Odoo is not thinking about clients that are using V16 or later versions, oldest versions, right? It's only, the solution from Odoo is only for Odoo 17 onwards, okay? And that's a huge deal, because we do have a lot of customers using 16, 15, 14, and we know in the community that, being on the latest version it's quite difficult, right? So upgrading is an issue, and Odoo making a decision for not having this solution for editions like 16, 14, 15, whatever, it is a big deal. So we detected that it was a problem. So Odoo it's only going to be the Verifactu in the Odoo edition in enterprise or community as well, both. It's only going to work from 17 onwards. But we also detected another problem there. It's not going to work for the point of sale module. Okay, so it's limited. And when we started looking more into the Odoo solution, we also found that the communications between the software and the government, it's triggered manually. And that's a big deal because we gotta, every time that we invoice, we have a certain amount of time that we need in order to send that information to the government. And that's between 60 to 170 seconds. So if you put a manual trigger on that process, there is a big chance that that information is not going to be sent. And that being said, the compliance is not being made, and if that information is not sent, we don't know what's going to happen, but probably not something good. Okay, so those were the problems that we were detecting, and then some other issues, some other use cases excluded from this solution, right? So then from Odoo 18 onwards, it seems like they're going to fix some other things, but we're still not sure. Okay, and then, well, like I said, some things from the Odoo 18 are going to be corrected, and yeah, well, this is Odoo's solution for this Verifactu situation. Okay, so we detected those problems, and then we said, by the way, that when Odoo was showing us what they were doing, we already had some movement going in the community because, as I was stating before, we didn't have that information, so we had to make our own decisions, right? We needed to move forward. So the community got together. We created a working group within the association. We got people organized. Some companies, they got organized through communication channels and working groups. And the community started working on this solution. The main differences that we have when you compare these two solutions, because now there are going to be two. One solution that is developed by Odoo SA, and one solution that is developed by the community. One of the things that makes the difference here is the flexibility of the solution. We are working daily with our customers, and we need to solve the issues practically daily. So if something changes within the law and the customers need to be compliant to that, we need flexibility. And probably Odoo is not going to give us that, right? So Odoo is going to make changes. They don't make changes the same way that the community might do changes for our customers. So if a customer of us have a problem, we need to address that problem in a daily basis, right? We cannot wait a year until a new version, or maybe a patch that it might come in 3 months to have a solution for that. That's kind of like a big deal. Then the knowledge about regulations and taxes. We are in Spain. We have experts within the community that knows these regulations, that are in contact even with the government agencies, to have that deep knowledge and functional knowledge on what is needed to be compliant. So this rapid adaptation of the community and this flexibility is very important and makes a huge difference between these two solutions. And one other thing, one other big point that I want to make with these differences that I'm pointing out is the responsibility. The responsibility is a big thing here in Verifactu. There is a shared responsibility between the client and the solution, right? So Odoo SA has a responsibility limited for the Odoo Online edition. So what's happening with the on-premise, or what's happening with SH, or what's happening with the Odoo Community Edition, right? Those are questions that we still don't know, because we still don't know what's going to happen if you're not compliant, but probably not good things, right? So the responsibility matter here is very, very important. Who is going to be responsible if something fails, right? The community solution, as you have this flexibility and as you are able to solve the issues in a more flexible way, you as an implementer or as an integrator of the solution, you can be accountable of that because it's in your hands, right, to make the solution to be efficient and flexible enough. In the case of Odoo, we still don't know what's going to happen, right? So those are the questions, and these are the main differences between the two solutions, right? So before I go into cooperation table, I want to do a small recap. Okay, so I want to point out that the Spanish community is a very strong community. We really value the open source philosophy, and that's very important to work together and build a solution like this that is a huge thing in Spain. Okay, so the history and the background and the points that I was making was basically to say that this community is ready to work in a collaborative way to get solutions as important as this one into the market and to work together to find a solution. That is the small recap that I'm going to make here, and then the differences between the solutions that we created between Odoo SA and the community with Verifactu. This is a cooperation table. It's a summary of what I was talking about between these two versions. And on the coverage situation, we mentioned about the POS solution, the point of sale solution that is not really there on the Odoo SA version. And we have a full coverage and different edge cases that we are going to be covering on the Community Edition. The flexibility, I talked a lot about flexibility, and this is very, very important to be flexible and to be ready to take action in case something fails. The whole automation thing, I think it's very, very important to mention that automating this submission of the electronic invoicing reduces the chances of not being compliant. And leaving manual, of course, we all know here that leaving manual submission, it might drive to a lot of human errors. The speed of adaptation, I talked a lot about that already. The governance, I already mentioned the responsibility, but mainly on the Odoo SA solution, the governance is on their hands. We, as a community, have a more peer-reviewed and with the association coordination. Of course, the real-world fit. We are on a daily routine. We are dealing with these clients every day, so we really know what's happening on a daily basis, and the responsibility, right? So this is also another recap of the comparison table, and the lessons learned, right? From my perspective, as a member of this community, I believe that this community can do so much working and together. I think it's a very strong community, and we are ready to find solutions such as this that we did with Verifactu, and even more solutions that it can come up in the future. So that's the lesson learned there. I think it's very important to mention that it is very strong, and this collaborative way is working very, very well in this Spanish community, and this is a use case that we can take to other communities as well. Having a strong localization, having a community so involved with this open source philosophy, this is a great example of what can be accomplished in other regions as well. The coverage and the fast adaptation, I mean, the work done, and I wasn't really directly involved in the process, but I'm on the communication channels, I'm on GitHub, I was reading everything that was happening, and this is very, very interesting the way that the communication flows and everybody is keen to finding the solution, to creating something together. It is very interesting, and I'm very proud of being part of this community as well. And that's it. I mean, I'm about to finish. Before I end this presentation, I hope you like it. I just want to mention these main contributors for these solutions, even though that a lot of people contributed in different ways. accounting companies that are members of the association and part of the community and so on. These main contributors that were part of this design of this solution and the commitment of these companies. So I want to say big thanks to Aurestick, Tecnativa, ForgeFlows, of course, Process Control, SDI, Factor Libre, and Ozono. Those were the main contributors. I'm very proud and very happy that you have worked together in such a manner, and I'm very proud, like I said, of this being part of this community. So that's it. If you have any questions, big thanks to you, and thank you for being here.